Hello folks, I'm Alex, this is Alex Unabridged, and today I've got a tag twofer for you. This is the New Year New Me book tag for 2025 and the New Year Same Old Me book tag. So welcome back to the channel if that is the case. Yes, I'm a little behind on tags at the moment, and so I am robbing this idea of doing two-in-one from Gavin over at Genre Books, who tagged me in both of these, amongst other folks as well. And I really like that idea of putting them both together. They go together really well, so I'm shamelessly robbing the idea from Gavin. So let's start with the New Year New Me book tag for 2025 then. This was created by Kevin Towell, and I was tagged by Book Chat with Pat, Nicole's Bookish Nook, and Gavin at Genre Books. So thank you to those three folks for tagging me, and I will link to their videos and Kevin's original video in the description. So the prompts for this one then. Number one is fears. What is one book from your 2025 reading goals that scares you? There are a couple I'm kind of more apprehensive of whether I'm going to like them or not. One I've mentioned before is Dune, which I'm reading in June. But so many people have said since I've mentioned that, oh no, you'll be fine with it. It's actually like much pacier than you might think it is, or actually I think you'll really enjoy it. And so actually I'm not that scared of that anymore. People have assuaged my fears on that, so that one's kind of I don't feel as apprehensive about that anymore. The one that does still bother me a little is one that I hope to get to towards the end of the year on my Stephen King reading project of reading all of King's novels in publication order. And I should, if I stay on track with that, get to Cujo, I think in October. And that one, yeah, I'm apprehensive about that one because anything with dogs in it and bad things happening to dogs, yeah, that one's going to be a bit difficult for me. I tend to avoid stuff about dogs because poor puppy. So yeah, that one, yeah, apprehensive about that one. That's probably the one that I'm a little bit scared of. Okay, prompt number 2 is patience. What's the one book on your 2025 reading goals you want to start immediately? This one's quite an easy one for me. That's Hyperion by Dan Simmons, and I've got this on my science fiction for the somewhat less hesitant reading projects for July. And yeah, I've been looking at this one for like probably the best part of a year now. I kind of go, oh, I really want to read that. Really want to read that. Yeah, that one, it really intrigues me. It really intrigues me. And having read some Dan Simmons in the form of The Terror last year and really, really enjoying his writing style, yeah, I really want to get to Hyperion. So yeah, I'm not wishing away the months, but when July comes around, I'll be ready and raring to go with that one. Okay, prompt number 3 is growth. What book last year pushed you to reflect and or grow as a reader? I guess I'd say there's a couple really. The book that I think pushed me to grow a bit is Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler, which I only read in December. But that's the first book in a while that I have really kind of had to consciously sort of stop and consider, in terms of it was a really difficult read. It was a far more brutal and visceral read than I expected it to be. And it was when I started it, I was like, oh God, I'm not sure I can deal with this at this point, in terms of when I was reading it and my kind of, frame of mind and all of that. And just it being a very, very difficult content. But it was so compelling that I kind of thought, no, you need to keep going with this. And also it felt like an important book. What Butler's saying in it, what Butler's talking about in it felt like it was important. And I think to be able to push through that and kind of actually sit and think about, why am I reading this? This isn't I'm not reading this for fun. This is not a fun experience. but this is an important experience. This is a rewarding and valuable experience. And I think I'd kind of got out of the habit of kind of reading books like that. I used to read a lot more serious, a lot more kind of challenging books in terms of content, themes, things like that. And I'd kind of sort of shied away from that a bit because I wanted reading to be, pleasurable. Not necessarily, light, but just the sort of things I wanted to be thinking about were maybe a bit more kind of speculative or abstract, or do you know what I mean? Things like that, like a lot of science fiction. It's big philosophical questions, and I kind of liked that. Whereas that was much more grounded and much more kind of, it felt much more immediate or much more relatable in terms of our modern world, and not in a good way. As in, not in a good way in terms of, there's too many parallels in terms of the negative stuff. But yeah, it just made me kind of think, no, I do need to read some more stuff like this. It's important that I do. And I don't have to do it all the time, but I do need to allow space for that. So I think that's certainly one that really kind of gave me a bit of a kick up the backside to just reassess some of the stuff that I'm shying away from in terms of my reading. I think, and this isn't a book, this is an author who's significantly pushed me to kind of grow in terms of what I read, and that's Adrian Tchaikovsky. 2024 for me was the year of Adrian Tchaikovsky. I found my new favourite author, for sure, and not only did he wake me up to a lot of sort of new fantasy that I really like. I've read some of his fantasy and absolutely love it, and now that's kind of pushed me to really kind of think, okay, well, I thought, I'm not really a fantasy fan, and it's like, actually, when I can find something that I love that much in terms of his stuff, there must be other fantasy out there that I can enjoy. I just got to find the right stuff. So that's something for the future, something to tinker around the edges with, have a little, kind of play with some stuff if you like, but just start to make, little forays into some more fantasy. So that's definitely making me grow in terms of more genres that I might tackle. But also with him, I've just done a video last week, which is 10 non-fiction science books that I want to read in 2025. And a big part of that has come about because of reading Tchaikovsky, and certainly a lot of the zoology, the animal biology that's in his books that he writes about, that he, kind of really kind of focuses some of his stories on. He's made me want to go away and read some non-fiction science and explore natural history and evolution, and as I say, zoology, things like that. And so I think I'm going to end up reading quite a bit more non-fiction science this year, and that's fantastic in terms of making me really kind of grow out in terms of what I read in non-fiction as well, because I got out of the habit of reading non-fiction. So yeah, reading his stuff has been quite an influence on what I'm willing to try and what I'm kind of open to and want to actively learn more about, for sure. Okay, prompt number 4 is new paths. What is one author you plan to try for the first time in 2025? Loads. I've got tons on my list, certainly between my science fiction project and my 20th century horror project. There are a ton of new authors on those. One that I'm particularly excited to try is Mark Morris. I'll be reading Toady in June or July, I can't remember which. But there's loads of his books that I really like the look of. And I keep seeing his name on sort of short story anthologies where he's the editor as well. So yeah, I want to definitely really interested in trying some of his stuff. And another one that isn't on any of my project lists, but I keep seeing such great things about, is James S.A. Corey, particularly the Expanse series. And I keep putting it off because it's a big series, and I know that if I like it as much as I think I might, that's another quite long series that I'm then going to need to get through. So I'm kind of just holding off a little bit on that, but at some point in 2025 I won't be able to resist diving in and trying the first of that series. Is it Leviathan Wakes, something like that? But yeah, James S.A. Corey is one that keeps just winking at me and saying, try me, try me. So yeah, I think I'll definitely get to that in 2025 at some point. Okay, prompt number 5 is self-care. What's one book and or series you revisit for comfort? It's all just standalone books really for me rather than series. Project Hail Mary and Legends and Lattes will absolutely get read this year, yet again, possibly more than once. Because I love the audiobooks of those, and those are the sort of things that if I'm feeling tired or unwell or I'm having trouble sleeping or I'm away on holiday and I'm too tired to take in anything new and I just want something completely relaxing and like a friend in the room, then that's what gets thrown on. I have listened to those several times over the last couple of years. And they are the ultimate comfort books for me. And this is a weird one as a comfort book, but I've got The Shining coming up in February next month as part of my Stephen King project. And that is a comfort book to me. It is absolutely a comfort book to me because it just takes me back to my teenage years. It's the first King I read. It's the first proper horror that I read. And it just reminds me of that feeling of finding something that was the beginning of a lifelong love of horror and of King. And yeah, I can't wait to get to that one on my project. That will be absolutely a comfort read. Okay, prompt number 6 is forging ahead. What is your favourite debut book or first book in a series you read last year? I don't think I read any debut books last year. I don't tend to read a lot of stuff that is new out anyway. So the first book in a series, favourite first book in a series, it's an easy one, it's Children of Time. I love that series, and again, it's what kicked me off onto this whole, wonderful set of adventures from Adrian Tchaikovsky. So yeah, Children of Time, that's an easy answer. Okay, prompt number 7 is goals. Do you have a specific reading goal or challenge for the year ahead? I have a numerical goal, if you like, which is 90 books, which is the same as last year. And I make it 90 books, and that is to not force myself to hit 90 books. It's more to keep the number down. That's kind of the number I want to end up at. And I did pretty much that this year. I think it was 95 books at the end of 2024. Because otherwise I have a habit of just kind of going overboard with the amount of stuff that I read. And it's more about just kind of giving me a bit of a guideline, if you like, of how many books to read per month. So that I actually keep it manageable rather than actually trying to hit something and read, as many books as I can. Outside of it, that any kind of numerical goal, other goals, get back into horror. That's why my big horror project exists, because I've got so involved with science fiction and my love for science fiction that I let my horror reading slip last year and the year before, to be fair, because I was trying lots of different new genres. So I do really want to get back into horror because that was my first love. And I want to read a lot more poetry. I've got into poetry at the back end of last year, so I want to kind of really kind of get into that properly this year, and get back into reading more comics, graphic novels, things like that, because again, I let those slip as well last year. Okay, prompt number 8 is breaking walls, bonus prompt. Do you have a non-book related goal for 2025 you wish to share? There is a prompt on the second list of tag questions, so I will pick one goal for this one and save another one for later. So yeah, positive goal for 2025, get my career change properly sorted and settled. I am, for those who don't know me, I have been working as an artist and designer for the past 13 years now. And I am making a significant shift away from that. I will still be doing bits and pieces and still be making art because I can't not. it's a compulsion. But I have been retraining as a proofreader and editor. And that is where I want my career to go, into fiction editing, hopefully. But to start with, whatever will pay the bills, basically. But yeah, I want to properly get that sorted. My kind of deadline, or my kind of timeline, if you like, for that to get all my training done is by the end of March this year. And then properly get into getting clients and properly really starting to work on that full time. Because once I'm on track with that, then I can start to pursue more kind of goals, life goals, such as making the move to Northern Scotland, things like that, which will enable my wife to change her career. So it's kind of it's steps, process, so she can change her job to something far less stressful and soul destroying, and generally just aim for that kind of quieter, happier, better quality life. So all in small steps, but get my career change sorted, get cracking with the editing and stuff, which I guess is it's sort of a non-book related goal. It's still related to fiction though, so but that's my life now. So there you go. But yeah, career goals, get that sorted. And also another not really non-book related goal, but get some of my own stuff published this year. Do some self-publishing this year. So prompt number 9 is teamwork, tag others. I will save that and do that at the end of the second tag. So that's the end of the new year, new me tag. So on to the new year, same old me book tag. This was created by James Rushala, and I was tagged by Gavin at Genre Books. And this is kind of the sort of the opposite side of the coin to the new year, new me book tag. So prompt number 1 then is regrets. What is one book from your 2024 reading goals that you regret reading or that haunts you? There's nothing I regret reading. All my reading experiences were valuable in some way, even if they told me that I don't vibe with that author or that kind of subgenre or whatever. There was value in every single one, and I don't regret reading anything. The only one that I would say is closest to regrets, certainly one that has stuck with me and not in a good way, is Wetlands by I think Charlotte Roche is the author. I read that for Old School April because one of the prompts was read a book with food on the cover, and it has an avocado on the cover. But it was just it's so gross. I mean, food was the last thing I could contemplate after reading that. It was just foul, and not in an interesting way. It was just gross out. It was shock tactics as far as I'm concerned, and the message within it, I think, got completely lost in amidst all of the just general how gross can I be with this. So yeah, that one, it's stuck in my head and not in a good way. Okay, prompt number 2 is penitence. What's one book on your 2024 reading goals that you feel guilty for not reading? That would be The Haunting of Hill House. I had that on like TBR's projects, I think 2 or 3 times last year. I kept shifting it around and I still didn't get around to reading it. And I feel bad for it because as a horror fan, I feel like I really should have read that by now. Really should have read that by now. But it is on my 20th Century Horror Project reading list for May, and I am reading it, damn it, this year. It is happening this year, without a doubt. It's getting read. So, yes, I do feel a bit guilty for not getting to it yet, but it is for sure 100% happening in May this year. Okay, prompt number 3 is Albatross. Are there any books you had on your 2024 TBR that you're glad to say you won't read in 2025? I think does this mean kind of like the ones that I'm kind of glad that it's out of the way so I don't have to be burdened with it in 2025? If it's that, then I would say the one that applies there is Tell Me I'm Worthless by Alison Rumfitt. That was a tough read for me. It's very good, but that was a hard read. I buddy read that with Nick from another BookTube channel, and I'm glad I buddy read it. It was a great buddy read. Nick was fantastic to read it with, But I wouldn't have got through that, I don't think, if I'd have just been trying to read it on my own. It's trans horror, and it was quite triggering for me. It's dark. It's really dark. Very good, but yeah, that one I'm glad I read it and it's done. Okay, prompt number 4 is pruning. Have any 2024 books led you to reconsider any long-term reading projects? Not in terms of pruning anything or curtailing any kind of projects. More so in terms of wanting to start even more. I think Gavin said something similar in his response to this one, that the more he reads, the more he wants to read. And I'm totally with you on that, Gavin. I'm just the same. I'm trying to resist the temptation to start more projects at the moment. I'm being good at the moment, but how long that'll last, how long that I'll be able to resist that temptation remains to be seen. But yeah, the more I read, the more I want to read. So no, I've certainly not cut anything out based on anything that I read last year. Okay, prompt number 5 is lying fallow. What's one author or genre that you're taking a break from in 2025? Nothing that I'm going to take a break from consciously, anyway. There will be authors that I won't read this year, but that's purely because of not being able to fit in one of their books. But nothing that I'm kind of actively avoid. No one's work, or nothing that I'm actively avoiding. I suppose one subgenre that I'm kind of limiting my exposure to is queer horror and trans horror, things like that. Especially when the horror is dealing with homophobia or transphobia. Given the current state of the world and things in reality right now, that's kind of all the horror on that front that I need, that I can deal with. I just need to protect like my mental health and avoid triggers in fiction, like especially in, specifically when it comes to, LGBTQ stuff in horror. So I just need to limit my exposure and be very careful about what I read and when I read it. I'm not going to avoid it altogether, but I'm just going to be careful about how I do it. Okay, prompt number 6, the scapegoat. Are there any formerly favourite authors you're not going to read in 2025? No, again, and certainly not consciously. Favourite authors, Stephen King is one, and I'm doing a whole Stephen King project because I'd kind of got out of habit of reading King regularly, and there's a lot of gaps in my King reading, so I'm remedying that by reading more King. Adrian Tchaikovsky is my absolute favourite at the moment, and I'm reading more of his stuff, like trying to get through one a month at least, because I just love it. The only one I would say is a favourite in terms of sort of not necessarily all of his stuff, but his kind of science fiction and fantasy horror stuff is Justin Cronin. I absolutely adore the Passage trilogy. The Passage is my favourite book of all time, and I love the trilogy. And I really enjoyed The Ferryman as well, that came out last year before, I think, 2023. And I may well not read anything of his, but that's probably because, there's nothing scheduled as far as I know to come out. If there was something coming out, I would read it. But again, it's not a conscious, oh no, I've gone off them. I don't want to read their stuff. So yeah, no, I'm reading more of my favourites, not less. Okay, prompt number 7 is stay the course. Is there any series that you started last year that you might complete this year? Yes, there's a trilogy that I'm about to complete, which is the Tyrant Philosophers trilogy from Adrian Tchaikovsky. I've just finished book 2 of that, and we'll be reading book 3 in February with Lecton from Reading from the Depths. We'll have done the entire trilogy as Buddy reads, which has been amazing. It's been absolutely fantastic. The books are phenomenal, by the way, the 2 that we've read, and the Buddy read experience with Lecton has been just top notch, absolutely brilliant. So yeah, we'll finish that. I don't know whether that's going to go beyond a trilogy at the moment. I've seen it pitched as a trilogy, but then Lecton has said that he's seen rumours that it might go on. I hope it does go on. And if any more that come out in that series, including the novella that will be coming out later in the year, I will be reading. So yeah, I'll basically keep up to date with that as and when it comes out. There's lots of series that I'd like to get further into, but I doubt that I'll finish any because a lot of them are quite long. Things like some of the Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40k series that I've got on the cards that I've started. That they run on for many books, so I don't think I'm going to finish them. I think possibly the one that I might get finished this year is Becky Chambers' Wayfarer series. I've only read the first in the series, and I think it's 4, isn't it? 4 or 5. I might get through that because I do want to get back into that and read some more Chambers. So yeah, that's probably the most likely one. Okay, and prompt number 8 then, which is basically the same as prompt number 8 in the previous tag, which is Breaking Walls bonus. Do you have a non-book related goal for 2025 that you wish to share? Just chilling out a bit more, just relaxing a bit more with stuff. And that would go for life in general. Just trying to just not get so stressed about things. Just, relax, chill out. I think finding a balance for me as well in terms of living my life as ethically as possible, especially with regards to things like which social media platforms I use, which companies I use the services of, things like that, whilst at the same time kind of not alienating myself from the world, from my friends, family, etc. I'm currently trying to work out where that balance is and how I achieve it. It's very much a work in progress, but I hope that I'll find a balance that I can live with. It's bloody tricky though, isn't it, in the modern era with everything that's going on. But I think if I can find a balance where I feel kind of comfortable, personally, it's all a personal call anyway, ethically speaking. But I think if I can find that, I'll just feel a bit more chilled as well. So yeah, just try and live a bit more of a kind of less anxious existence. I think that is my goal generally. So prompt number 9 then is teamwork. So tag some other folks. So I need to look up who has and hasn't already been tagged in this. Both these tags, and I will drop some names in the description to tag some folks. But if you like the look of either or both of these tags and fancy doing your own tag twofer, then do feel free to have a go. Consider yourselves tagged. But that will do from me today. Thank you very much for watching, folks. As always, do drop your thoughts, etc. in the comments below. It's always lovely to hear from you. I will be back on Friday with some more bookish ramblings, so I do hope you'll join me for those then. But from me, for now, that's ta-ra.